It has to do with Verizon. So I framed it, how will Verizon Q4 2022 go? And Ricky said, where's the option for good? I'll be honest with you, Rick, I'm not expecting a good quarter. Verizon actually guided for a bad quarter last quarter. They guided for a bad Q3. They guided for a bad Q4 also. So if Verizon's expecting a bad quarter, then what should we expect? Oh man. Big John, thank you, man. Appreciate the super chat. Absolutely, man. I that's a great support. Thanks for supporting me, man, and all that I do on my channel. You guys are great. All that you guys do, whether it's likes and shares or comments or whatever you do, however you connect with us, we appreciate you very much. Thanks, Big John. Looking forward to your next live stream. I know it's been a while since you did one, but I remember showing up there. Absolutely, and I'm excited for the next one, man. Anytime you do content, we're there, dude. Subscribe to Big John Tech Reviews for his next video. All right. So the Verizon situation's an interesting one. They told us that they were going to have a bad Q3. They did. And then during Q3, they told us they were going to have another bad quarter in Q4, so we should expect a bad Q. So I asked the question, how will Verizon's Q4 2022 go? And I gave you the options of flat, which means gains and losses are equal. And of course, this has to do with like subscriber gains. Bad meaning they lose 50,000, lose 100,000. And then really bad would be like losing like 200,000 or 250,000 subscribers in one quarter, which I don't think it could be that bad, because I don't know, you got the holiday season, you got people that need to buy iPhones and they're upgrading devices, but Verizon's in a very unusual place. They've put themselves in a situation that not many of us understand, but who knows, maybe Hans knows what he's doing and he's brilliant and we're all stupid and we have no clue what's going on. Clearly they're not really focused on any type of growth. Yeah, if you're looking for that, you're looking at AT&T or T-Mobile. They grow. Big cable grows, but Verizon doesn't. I have my own conclusions as to why I think Hans and Verizon are doing the things that they do. I've discussed them before, but I'll probably do a dedicated video on that, kind of like what Hans's thought process might be. I could be off base, I could be wrong, but I'm just looking at the way he's stepping, So go ahead and vote if they're going to be flat, if they're going to be a bad quarter, or if it's going to be a really bad quarter with lots of losses. You guys tell me what you think by voting. It's in the live chat, so if you guys want to do that for me, then we can get some of those votes in. It looks like we already got about 41 votes, so I'd like to see if those can get closer to 100 votes between now and finishing that first story. Let us go ahead and actually get there. Pleasantries have been done, and we can go ahead and get this thing started. All right. All right, good people. Fierce Wireless. Link is in the description. It's in the show notes. So you guys can check that out later. I don't know if you could pop in there now and see it, but the article is titled Verizon in Q4, What's in Store? Oh, I like what you did there, Monica Alvin of FierceWireless.com. Given Verizon's track record in consumer postpaid phone net ads so far this year, all eyes are on how it's going to finish out the year. Guys, Verizon has had a bad year when it comes to like customer additions. Q1 was losses. Q2 was losses. Q1 having losses would not be unusual. They've done that before. A Q2 with losses is new. They never did that before. And they never had 2 consecutive quarters with losses. So Verizon, under Hans Vestberg, has done something they've never done before, which is lose customers during a quarter not named Q1, and then lose customers in 2 consecutive quarters. In fact, the record is now Hans Vestberg at 3. So he set the record for consecutive quarters in 2, then he set it for 3, and now he has the opportunity to go ahead and lose for 4 consecutive quarters. A full year of losses is expected. I think that is probably the most likely scenario. But the one thing that has remained strong at Verizon has been positive net phone additions thanks to the business group. So in Q3, where Verizon lost 189,000 consumers, so that's the customers in the consumer segment, people like you and me, they were offset by the additions in the business segment. I think they added like almost 200,000. So that basically made them a net positive just because of the business segment. So will Verizon's consumer unit turn the ship around for the fourth quarter? It says here, analysts aren't so sure. I mean, I don't need analysts to tell me this, but I'll take a look because I like Jeff Moore. I don't know what they can do, according to Jeff Moore. They need to develop a better sales culture at Verizon. They don't have the interest in selling that other carriers have, the shorter store hours, their declining store footprint, with exits at Target and Sam's Clubs. All right, so Verizon has completely reduced its retail footprint. They've closed stores and not reopened them. That started happening during the pandemic. They've closed stores after the pandemic. They've made stores into basically like pickup hubs. You know, it's not like traditional retail. Like they're not fully staffed. They basically put the stuff that you want to buy from them in little cubbies and lockers, and you just pick it up. And then like in order to be with like a retail associate, you have to like make an appointment. You scan a QR code at the window. It's just so weird and different and unusual. This appears to be part of Han's plan. You guys remember that Drake song, God's Plan? Han's plan. It's so weird. Like, so the whole industry, and this is why I said maybe Hans knows something we don't know. The whole industry continues to operate with traditional retail and online orders and stuff, so you can still do those things. There's still flexibility there, but to like completely eliminate your retail is just nuts. You know what I mean? It's weird. All right. Additionally, according to Jeff Moore, he says Verizon just doesn't have that kind of sales culture. I will tell you guys, for the people that work at Verizon, the people I know, the morale is down. People are not happy about the situation. Like, they're constantly being told things from like their managers, their supervisors. You need to sell. You guys aren't cutting it. Like, they're selling the product that they have to sell. Those people can't sell AT&T. They can't sell T-Mobile. Those companies have better plans. Those companies have better promotions. Do you want to start multi-carrying at Verizon? It's crazy. Like, what do you want to do? You want them to make gourmet meals out of garbage can residue? You know, you can't just do that. The ingredients have to be there. You want the chefs to cook, you give them the ingredients. All right. Additionally, the business segment, which is now led since July by Sominarian Sampath, it's expected that they will make up for the losses in the consumer group. Manon Roulette has led the consumer segment since the beginning of 2022. She replaced Ronan Dunn, longtime exec at Verizon, and Sampath replaced Tammy Irwin, even longer time employee at Verizon. They were both very successful at Verizon. Neither of these two individuals are as successful as they are thus far. Big shout out to Blind G Tech, who says investors need to put shackles on Han's feet and make him dance the dance. Oh, they're going to make him dance the dance, buddy, because he's going to have a chance to execute his plan, Han's plan, and then see what happens from there. And I think his leash is short, by the way. I don't think he's long at this trajectory. Some more stuff from analyst William Ho. You guys might know him from some analyst Twitter accounts that we follow here within the community. Bill says Verizon is clearly struggling in postpaid throughout the 2022 year. There will be postpaid net additions as their business unit sometimes boost the total postpaid tally. Alas, consumer revenue drives the overall business at $18 billion a quarter. Wow. Folks, I'm not expecting a good quarter for them. Maybe just not as bad as Q1 or Q2. Maybe, I don't know. And if it wasn't for business, Q3 was a train wreck too. All right, a little bit about fixed wireless, Verizon and their 5G home internet. On Blind G Tech, thanks for the super chat, sir. Thanks for the generosity. Appreciate you. According to the fixed wireless access piece, which again uses the same network as the mobile network, this is seen as a bright spot for Verizon, both in consumer and business. We've reported on this every quarter. Verizon and T-Mobile adding fixed wireless access at an accelerated pace. Verizon's averaging like 200,000 ads a quarter. T-Mobile's probably closer to like 500, 600,000, so they're growing faster. They obviously don't have C-band restrictions that they have to worry about, right? The N41 is national for them. Verizon's still waiting for C-band to clear and go national. That's only in like the top 50 or so markets for now, but that'll be changing. They'll pick up their pace too. T-Mobile's target of 7 to 8 million fixed wireless customers by 2024, more ambitious than Verizon's 4 to 5 million by the end of 2025. According to Bill Ho, I expect that Verizon's fixed wireless access will contribute as it's on an upward trajectory. I agree. I think that's going to continue to be a growth spot for them. But everyone's question is the phone net ad question. Given today's T-Mobile aggressive 4 lines for a $100 promo, it's timely for the price-sensitive AT&T and Verizon customer. All right, so look, guys. T-Mobile just relaunched 4 iPhones, 4 lines for $100 per month. It is T-Mobile's base essentials. It's their entry-level plan. You're not getting a great plan, but you are getting unlimited data, unlimited talk and text, and that probably fits the bill for a lot of cost-conscious customers. There are probably some people at the Verizon network right now who are on a similar plan who wouldn't mind just making the switch and saving the money. An equivalent plan for Verizon, so 4 lines, 4 iPhones on their Welcome Unlimited, is probably going to be, let's call it $15 a line, or $15 a phone, right? So just for phones, you're coming in at like $60, right? A month to pay those off. And then the lines of service are going to be like $35 a month to be on Welcome Unlimited, right? I think it's 30. They're doing 30 or 35. I forget with auto pay. You're going to be at double the price. At least double the price. All right. And then at AT&T, it's probably going to be closer to like 180. So T-Mobile's coming in and they're undercutting the competition in pricing. If you're a cost-sensitive consumer, T-Mobile's the move. You're getting iPhones for all 4 lines. You're getting 4 lines for $100. So T-Mobile's aggressive. They're aggressive with their promotion, and it's going to probably hurt Verizon. Verizon's losing to big cable. Comcast and Charter are taking their share. Verizon, no doubt, has probably lost some customers to AT&T as well, and no doubt from T-Mobile. And I think this quarter is going to show more of the same because T-Mobile and AT&T are both more aggressive with promotions. T-Mobile with the line deal and the phone deal. This is going to be rough. T-Mobile has already announced some pretty aggressive Black Friday holiday offers. I don't think Verizon will go too much further down the discount rabbit hole, according to mobile ecosystem managing editor Mark Lowenstein. I think Verizon has its sight on the first half of 2023 with greater focus on its prepaid brands, some aggressive marketing as C-band becomes available much more widely. All right, so let's pick this apart from this analyst here. Verizon has already said that the bleeding is going to stop. They've already said that things are going to turn around in Q1. Is that possible? Is that going to happen? Maybe. But it says here that the focus is going to be on prepaid. The funny thing about this, guys, is that prepaid has a lower ARPU, average revenue per user. So you're basically going to be aggressive in the segment that makes you lesser money per customer. Well, hopefully you can achieve some synergies or some cost efficiencies there. They also mentioned C-band becoming more available. Well, that makes sense because you're going to be better capable of selling the network. You could say, well, look, we got this new upgraded version of our network, already a great coverage network, right, with lots of, huge market reach, network reach. And now we're going to add capacity to it with upgrades. So, asked to comment on how Verizon's going to turn the trajectory around in the fourth quarter and Verizon's offers during the holidays, a spokesperson in Verizon's consumer group pointed to its current offers here, and then it's linked in this article. And new deals will be happening throughout the holiday season. Presumably, Verizon will adjust plans as it sees fit throughout the sales cycle. I don't know, guys. Do you think we got new plans coming from Verizon in the fall, or excuse me, in like at some point in Q1? Do you think we see new plans? Because really, the only true issue with Verizon is their cost. They're just expensive, relatively speaking, right? Like, you're gonna get equivalent plans on AT&T and T-Mobile for lesser money. It's a little bit cheaper. Now, when you go like multi-line, it's a little bit like the gap closes. But it's true, and Verizon doesn't give anything above 720p, even on their highest plan, when it's on LTE. So if you're on the C-band connection, if you're on N77, or if you're on the 5G ultra-wideband mmWave, right? If you're on 5G ultra-wideband, then sky's the limit. It doesn't throttle you in any way, but the plans are much better constructed. The experiences and the plans and the values are better on both AT&T and T-Mobile. So Verizon has to probably tend to that. You know, if Verizon's sick and tired of these bad quarters, then they'll just adjust their plans. That's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to become more price competitive. As much as they hate it, you know, they hate to do that to their precious premium brand. Oh, man. Being sarcastic there. I mean, look, I want to see them become more competitive. I just don't know if it's in them with the CEO. So, like, stay premium priced and expensive and all of that. And then they're going to focus on the prepaid brands for the value. So, you know, the people have spoken. People have left Verizon because of pricing. They went to Big Cable. They went to Charter and Comcast, Spectrum, and Xfinity. They kept the Verizon network, but they wanted it for a cheaper price. So that's what they did. I know a lot of people say that the network sucks. Like, well, it's not even a lot of people. It's a loud minority. We see a lot of people that live in like rural suburbia type of markets. You know, they have a rough experience with Verizon because of localized congestion. You know, they've got tower sites that need to be upgraded. And trust me, like, Verizon has already come out and said, we are going to upgrade every single cell site in the country in our footprint. You know, and they're still going to build new sites too, and they're going to densify. Right? They're going to deal with congestion. In rural America, it's probably just getting those sites modernized. It might not even be that they have to densify all that much. It might be more of the fact that they just need to modernize the sites, right? Put a gig backhaul on a site, get the C-band and the CBRS and all those 3 gigahertz frequencies, radios and antennas, and it'll completely change the way the network operates. Because right now, if you're on a band 13 only site, even off peak, you're probably getting 50 megs. And any type of peak, it's going to be crawling, right? Those things have to be upgraded. Thanks, Franco. Appreciate the super chat, sir. Said Verizon also charges more tax and fees. You got to pay for the CEO's raise, folks. Well, that's at AT&T. That's the CEO getting the raises. Thanks, Franco. Appreciate you very much, buddy. That's funny, man. Yeah. All right, so the customers can dictate what Verizon does. Hey, you know, Verizon, you're sick of losing customers. If at some point you're just like, man, this is not worth it, well, then you're gonna have to adjust your pricing and change your plans, give people more value. If not, you know, hey, people are gonna look elsewhere because they can get your network. They can get it at Big Cable and they can get it at prepaid, and that's gonna hurt your ARPU, right? But if you guys notice, like Verizon moving away from retail, right? It's all about cost limitation. It's all about the reduction in overhead. It's all like a money play, bottom line. Like they want to spend the least amount of money. And it's coming at the cost of presence. And I really do feel this way. I mean, this is seriously what I think. I really do feel this. Verizon doesn't want to compete with AT&T and T-Mobile, but they will gladly enable big cable to compete with them for them. I think Spectrum and Xfinity are doing the heavy lifting when it comes to competing for Verizon. And of course, Xfinity and Spectrum are going to be building their own 5G networks, and they're going to do it with, band 48 and 48 CBRS and stuff, and they're going to try to offload as much traffic as possible with their CRAN and their small cells and macros. But until that day comes, big cable's paying Verizon, I really do think that Verizon is basically, they're giving the weapon to Comcast and Charter. Oh, and Blind G checked with another super chat. He said, just because. Thanks, man. You guys are so kind, man. I appreciate all the support, and thank you for those super chats. You guys are the best. We'll see what the Q4 has in store. We shall see. But I don't think it's going to be a good one, but I think other carriers are growing at the expense of Verizon. They're just much more competitive. So unless things change in that arena for Verizon, I don't expect anything to change. All right, this next story. This one is from AT&T. AT&T customers and college stations say they are struggling with service. The wireless provider, AT&T, acknowledged the troubles and says it's taken steps to fix them, but customers have yet to see the improvements. All right, this was dated this morning, actually, at the time of this broadcast. Laura Mann has been an AT&T customer for more than a decade, but after she moved to South College Station, she noticed her cell phone became a lot less reliable. She's frustrated. She's dropping calls. People can't hear her when she's speaking to them on phone calls, and sometimes she just has to give up. It says here that AT&T customers are saying that they're ready. They're looking for a solution. Over the past 2 months, we have logged more than 50 complaints from customers who say they're experiencing dropped calls, dead zones, and more in growing areas of the city, including Tower Point, Nantucket, Wellborn, and Castlegate. I don't know where those places are. I'm really not even all that familiar with College Station. Okay, let me see if I can just make this a little bit larger for you guys here. Some users say texts with images aren't going through, so that's MMS. It's impossible to make phone calls inside a home, and they're connecting to a 5G network that seems to struggle. Uh-oh. You guys think we got a problem with 5G Plus here? The problem seems to intensify in the early evening hours on weekdays. Mostly on weekdays between 4 and 6 p.m. according to GG Carbo. My husband calls me daily when he leaves work, and most of the time, we are unable to sustain the call. They keep trying. Can't even get a ring out of it. Call goes to voicemail. Phone says no connection possible. What in the world is going on with the AT&T network? This one, according to Tiffany Brown. My parents moved to Creek Meadows last spring and there is zero service in their home. Misty Garner. I've called and they reset my network and had me take 5G off, but it hasn't fixed my issues. So the problem there is you think by getting off of 5G on the LTE, it's more reliable and less problematic. AT&T offered a comment here. Our technicians completed equipment repairs earlier this month in the South College Station area, where some customers may have recently experienced intermittent wireless service. We are also optimizing settings at surrounding cell sites to alleviate any impacts to service. We appreciate the patience of our customers and hope to complete this work soon. So they're working on something. No solution or improvements, folks. According to this report, customers still frustrated and sharing stories online of their challenges. Oh man, this is rough here. A temporary fix could be turning your phone on airplane mode, and then a few seconds later turning it off. Another option is to reset your network settings on your phone or turning off 5G and using LTE instead. This is bad. Alright, now when these types of things happen, if it's like one night, right? If it's sporadically, during the week or something, like randomly happens, most people can look past it. They'll get on Wi-Fi, or something, or they'll just not use their phone for a few moments, right? But the problem here, folks, is this is lasting for several weeks. AT&T's got trouble in what appears to be a market with a lot of people that are pretty disgruntled. They better get on this, man. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's network core related. I don't know if it's tower site related. It's probably not fiber cuts. They would have mentioned it. I don't know what's going on with the radio gear. But when you're dropping calls, remember, calling is non-negotiable, right? When you need to call, like that lady wanted to call her husband and she couldn't. That's the stuff that makes customers leave. People that have consistent problems, continued problems that aren't getting fixed or no solutions offered, they're going to leave. This is what gave T-Mobile a really, really hard time back in the day with their network, was when, they had a smaller network and it wasn't available for a lot of times when people needed to make calls or calls would drop. And it wasn't until T-Mobile became a more competitive network and more reliable, they started adding share, like legitimate share, right? So if you're a resident or you live around, work around College Station, I don't know if this is still a problem. It looks like it appears to be. I don't know, man. That's a long time to be going through trouble since October. I mean, if it doesn't get fixed soon, these people are going to start probably looking at other options. They'll start looking at T-Mobile. They'll start looking at Verizon and looking to get away from the AT&T network. But those AT&T engineers, those teams doing the troubleshooting, better figure things out. All right, I want to give you guys another thing that we got going on here. Okay, so it was a week ago where I said that AT&T was going to be doing this Morgan Stanley European Technology, Media, and Telecom Conference. I think it was Wednesday of last week. I forget when I did the live stream, but I think this happened on the 17th. The Pascal DeRoche, I still don't know how to pronounce his name. He did speak, the Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer at AT&T. Spoke at the conference, and here are some mentions as to what he spoke about at his presentation. AT&T continues to take a disciplined and return-focused approach to growth and investment. Here are some points. The company has continued to add customers in a strategic focus areas of 5G and fiber. All right, now that's a big thing for AT&T. They really want to focus on fiber. Customer demand for connectivity remains healthy. The company continues to monitor the evolving economic backdrop. He feels confident in the ongoing benefits of AT&T's simplified business model as a pure-play connectivity provider. He believes AT&T's continued go-to-market approach, along with improved customer experience, continues to attract high-value customers. Do you guys think that AT&T's customer experience has improved? Any AT&T customers out there, can you comment on this? Is AT&T's customer experience getting better? Is it more attractive than it used to be? Like, how's the customer care? How's the billing? How are the plan features? Do you feel like you're getting a good value? Right, all that's bundled in. So that question goes out to all the AT&T folks out there. He went on to highlight the company is now lapping investments made over the past 2 years, realizing additional cost savings from its transformation initiatives to enhance its high-performing workforce, optimize and expand connectivity networks, and improve distribution. All right, so this is executive talk for layoffs and job cuts, and I think the turning off the power at night on some of those radios, improving distribution, maybe the fact that they don't own and operate their stores anymore, they leave that up to the authorized agent retailers. Maybe that's kind of what he's going for there. It says here the company remains vigilant around inflationary pressures. All right, so costs of services, right? People are paying more for their, regular living expenses now. So they're looking to save money. He says here that the benefits of cost reduction measures are increasingly falling to the bottom line evidenced by AT&T's accelerated third quarter adjusted EBITDA. DeRoche shared that he feels good about the resilient nature of AT&T's connectivity services, that pricing actions are proving accretive and performing slightly better than anticipated. Okay. I mean, just a quarter ago, I think John Stankey, the CEO, was talking about how like there were slightly more delinquencies, late bill pays. Fiber continues to deliver the best customer experience in the marketplace. Pleased with the momentum, pleased with the ARPU, pleased with the penetration rates for new fiber build. So basically, wherever they put the new fiber, they're getting money. New markets. First-year penetration rates are 2 times greater than historical norms. You know what that tells me? Wherever they're picking those spots, they're doing a good job. They're picking places where people want the service. All you got to do is take consumer surveys. Hey, are you looking to change providers? What don't you like about your current provider? How much do you want to pay for your internet? Are you paying too much? How much are you currently paying? Like those kinds of questions. They get that information and boom, you can go into a market, know exactly what they want and hit them with those rates, hit them with the service. It says here, AT&T is expanding the fiber footprint, the ability to serve 18.5 million locations, 3 million businesses, 100 metro areas with their fiber. AT&T expects to achieve its target of 30 million plus locations with fiber by the end of 2025. They're the biggest fiber provider in the country. AT&T is continuously exploring ways to expand where it can serve customers fiber, including outside of its traditional wireline service area. When AT&T fiber is available, the company has also seen an uplift in subscriber penetration. All right, so basically, AT&T's wireline, their fiber business, and their wireless business, they seem to feed into each other, right? So you land one service, you close that deal with a customer, it's going to increase the likelihood that you're going to get the customer for the wireless relationship along with the fiber, right? It's the double whammy. And it's smart. You've got 2 services, you sell both. You want to get as many of those customers on both as possible. Yeah, so I mean it's complementary. Home service, mobile service. AT&T's winning in that respect. I think they're doing a nice job of I'd call those synergies. You know, I know a lot of synergy talk revolves around T-Mobile, but you could definitely talk about synergies with AT&T as well. He reiterated that AT&T expects elevated levels of capital investment in 2022 and 23, moderated investment beginning 2024. So basically, they're going to slow down spending at the end of next year. Focus on building sustainable and durable connectivity. They're pleased with the return profile of fiber and 5G investments. Long-term capital allocation priorities remain unchanged. 95% of the company's debt is fixed. He continues to expect AT&T will use cash after dividends to reduce debt, with a goal of reducing net debt to adjusted EBITDA to the 2.5x range. So if you're an investor, you like to hear these things, you want to see that execute. All right, so we heard a lot of good things there from AT&T's chief financial officer. Huge emphasis on fiber, guys. We hear it at the investor conferences. We hear it at the earnings call. AT&T is a wireless provider, but they really love wireline business. Their CEO, John Stankey, is a wireline guy. That goes back many, many years. And if you notice, when AT&T moved away from the core focus of their business, the Randall Stevenson era, when they were buying like DirecTV and they were buying Warner Media, it was the worst. It was the dark ages of AT&T. What did they get out of those transactions? Look at their debt. That's what they got out of those transactions. You see what I'm saying? That's the problem. The problem is they took their focus away from the thing that made them successful, which is home ISP and wireless service. And Randall Stevenson thought that the best thing was like, oh, well, all this stuff in our core business, oh, there's no upside. we got to start looking at this media thing. And he spent $100 billion on Warner Media. Absolute failure. That'll go down as one of the worst transactions of all time. But the DirecTV business wasn't any better. It was like $47 billion of debt. I think the company dragged debt with it, on top of selling the assets for the company. They've spun off everything. They've gotten rid of everything. They've written off everything. They look at their business today like a clean slate. I know they have debt and that's not going to disappear. It has to be paid down. But they operate like all that stuff is in the rearview mirror. And their business has gotten better. Look at what AT&T has been able to do. Right? Look at what they've been doing since they've just moved on from media. They've become more aggressive in promotions for wireless. The last 2-3 years have been nothing but growth for them. The wireline business is taking off with fiber. They're growing the fiber footprint. They're becoming more. They're getting a greater return of invested capital, right? Owning and operating the fiber to the tower sites where they're ILEC and all of that. They're doing everything right. It's everything they should have been doing from the beginning. Imagine what the AT&T network would look like if you took $100 billion from media and $50 billion from DirecTV. That's $150 billion. I mean, look what they've done with all, like, they've been spending $20+ billion every year for like the last half decade. What if they were spending more of that money on actual capital? Like the invested portion of the network, their assets. Like the thing that makes you money, not speculative, I want to own media and be greedy, but like actual assets that you sell and people want to buy from you, i.e. mobile services, wireless service, and then the home internet. What if they dumped $150 billion into fiber and wireless? Everybody would have fiber. That's how greedy Randall Stevenson was. They really thought they were going to take over the world of media. Everybody would have had fiber from AT&T across the country. I mean, do I have any fiber business operators out there that are listening to the podcast? How far does $150 billion in fiber get you? That's got to be several states, like completely covered. It's got to be. Oh my goodness. But who got fat off of that? The former owners of DirecTV and the former owners of Warner Media. And imagine, like, AT&T still got FirstNet, still got C-band. Like, think about those things. All right, next story, folks. All right, this one I didn't even read yet. I have no idea what this is about, actually. No clue. I'm going to move me a little bit so you guys can see the title. T-Mobile may continue the fight over its employees' T-Voice group. What is T-Voice? I have no idea. I have no clue. T-Mobile suggested that it might appeal a new National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, ruling that found the company violated labor laws. What is this? We completely disagree with the NLRB's decision and are disappointed in the outcome of this latest ruling, the company said in a statement to Light Reading. We're considering next steps, including appealing. What are they appealing? It says here that if T-Mobile does pursue a reversal of the agency's ruling, the move would further drag out a battle that has been under debate for roughly 7 years. At issue is whether T-Mobile's T-Voice feedback program for its customer service employees qualifies as labor organization under federal laws. The operator created the program in 2015, but the CWA union filed a charge with the NLRB in 2016, arguing that T-Voice was actually an attempt by T-Mobile to block its employees from unionizing. Wow. I mean, I vaguely remember hearing about this, but not exactly sure. T-Mobile's illegal attempt to undermine worker organization at the company is just one of the string of labor law violations at the company, according to the CWA. Looks like T-Mobile's been up to no good for a while here. We continue to believe that T-Voice is not only lawful, but also mission critical. T-Mobile wrote in a statement, our employees who are closest to our customers consistently share that they love that T-Voice empowers them with the opportunity to solve pain points, and we believe they'd be very disappointed to lose it. We will fight to maintain it. Importantly, the NLRB was divided in its ruling by a 2-to-1 margin. John Ring, appointed to the agency by former President Trump in 2018, wrote in his dissent that T-Voice was intended to serve as a lawful employee feedback program, and it operated that way in practice with, at most, a few rare and isolated exceptions. The record as a whole simply does not support the notion that T-Voice robbed employees of the right to select representatives of their own choosing. The 2 NLRB board members who voted against T-Mobile, David Prouty and Gwynn Wilcox, were appointed by President Biden. Oh, so this is a partisan issue. Oh, God. Unions and carriers. This is a problem. Carriers don't like unions. Carriers like to charge whatever they want for services. They also like to pay as little as possible to employees for selling their services. So them trying to eliminate a union seems pretty corporate to me, pretty par for the course. I will tell you guys that generally speaking, the Democratic Party is more supportive and union friendly. Typically we see more like the Republicans against unions, I suppose. I don't know. Does that play into this? I think so. I could kind of see it in there. I don't really have... I'm generally apolitical. Like, I don't do national politics. I don't really get into these types of things like presidential candidates and administrations. The only time it really finds its way here on the channel is when it impacts the FCC. Outside of that, we don't really care all that much. But I could see why this has become an issue. You know, hey, Gellert Entertainment, what's up, buddy? I don't know if this should probably be done and over with by now. I have no idea why that's dragging out, but I don't know. Article's in the description if you guys want to read more about it. All right, last story of the day. This is a good one. This one is a juicy one. Okay, so a lot of you have been asking about T-Mobile and its potential mmWave build. And I've indicated what I think is going to happen and how I think things are going to play out. I feel like I've got a pretty good pulse on what T-Mobile wants to do. I have a pretty good pulse on how they operate. You know, I've been watching them since pre-merger and then post-merger. And I look at the CapEx, and based on all of this, I think I know what's going to happen, right? And especially as I've kind of asked some questions to those internally at T-Mobile, you know, whether it was, you know, engineering plans or, you know, sometimes you just got to ask the right questions at these earnings reports, conferences, and investor conferences. Sometimes you find out things. The one thing I will say is that sometimes, like in the case of T-Mobile, what they say and what they do are two different things. It just has to fit their narrative. So T-Mobile will lie. You know, Eugene Sweaty Armpits will hit you with the liar sandwich. You know, if you're not careful, if you let him get over on you, he will. T-Mobile execs open a door to mmWave fixed wireless access. Guys, I'm telling you, T-Mobile is more likely to do mmWave more than ever if they get into any amount of fiber. That's really the only reason why they don't have mmWave on any type of scale right now. It's because they don't want to pay for the fiber that it takes. A fiber circuit for a mmWave connection must be no less than 10 gig circuit fiber. Doing anything less makes no sense. That high capacity fiber, A, is expensive, B, is not available everywhere. Right? And where it is available, it's going to cost them a lot of money. The rate for that 10 gig fiber is very costly. Much higher than, say, for example, a 1 gig circuit. In my market, all of the T-Mobile sites are on 1 gig circuits. It doesn't really affect the network too much because T-Mobile has a small market share here. They're third, even after consuming Sprint. In the Cleveland market, T-Mobile is third in market share. And that's with a combined T-Mobile and Sprint. AT&T is a little bit higher, and then Verizon's is much higher. So if their market share called for it, if they had more users, if the T-Mobile home internet took off more, then yeah, they can always scale up the backhaul. But you really want to own it. So that's where I'm at with this. I think T-Mobile explores millimeter wave on that type of a needed basis, where their market share is high, where the home internet usage is high, where the mobile usage continues to grow, which, let's not kid ourselves, T-Mobile customers are power users. You have the Magenta MAX plan, which people love. That's taxing on the network. Those users are using like 50, 60, 70 gigs a month on average. You got people using terabytes on the home internet. You got people using terabytes, on the Magenta MAX plan. That needs backhaul. That needs MIMO radios and antennas. This is real stuff. Like, their network, sector to sector, has a lot of variability, and it's going to need upgrading. Backhaul, radios, antennas, the whole shebang. Densification, small cells, millimeter wave. And, they really are growing in fixed wireless, guys. So the carrier's looking into using its millimeter wave holdings, guys. They own a lot of millimeter wave spectrum. They've got N260. They've got N261. They've got N253, I think, or some. I don't know. They got all types of stuff. They have tons of millimeter wave. And taking those frequencies and putting them to use in high demand areas makes a lot of sense. T-Mobile probably wants to see a couple of things happen, though. Number one, they're going to want to see better customer premise equipment, right? Number two, they're going to need 3GPP standards-based equipment, right? Because they want it to be effective and they want it to be useful. They want it to have better, the best range, the best reach. It says here, finding a role for millimeter wave and fixed wireless. We've gotten to the point where we've got wait lists for our services in a lot of areas. In a few areas, we may find that we need to augment it, and millimeter wave could be part of that. They're going to have to. Home internet users are using more data, and we're getting more users. Mobile users are using more data, and they're growing. T-Mobile adds customers every quarter. They grow. There's increased usage on all those fronts. So here is Grant Castle, the Vice President for Device Engineering, telling you we're going to be looking into fixed wireless with a millimeter wave supplement. The nice thing about millimeter wave that they're not mentioning here is you get the best latencies at a millimeter wave frequencies. So if you're sick and tired of your T-Mobile home internet ping being high, millimeter wave could help with some of that. And of course, like with new modems, now we're seeing standalone networking compatibility, on millimeter wave. T-Mobile Senior Vice President Kari Kupamaki, all right, says there are hints about the carrier's potential fixed wireless access applications using millimeter wave, suggesting they may bring new spectrum assets like millimeter wave to play in this environment. Yeah, you better. You better take millimeter wave to fixed wireless. He suggested that T-Mobile could meet rising fixed wireless access demand by optimizing deployment of its roughly 1 gigahertz bandwidth worth of millimeter wave spectrum for fixed recipients. We can do tweaks like maybe more aggressive modulation, coding scheme selection because you don't have to take mobility into account. We could do multi-user MIMO, maybe more effectively in the fixed wireless domain. You know what's crazy, guys? The best part of the T-Mobile network would be the fixed wireless access if they started doing this. It wouldn't be the mobile network. Oh my god. Actually, if they do this, the T-Mobile fixed wireless access product would be really good. You'd have better latencies. You'd have more reliable downlink and uplink because you'd be dedicated. or you wouldn't be sharing the network. You'd be dedicated. That's a much more solid endorsement of millimeter wave than the carrier, which spent $1.7 billion across 3 FCC auctions for millimeter wave spectrum offered at last year's summit. Last year, T-Mobile poo-pooed millimeter wave. And it's really simple, guys. T-Mobile's CapEx does not allow them to really build out millimeter wave at any type of scale. What Verizon does and what T-Mobile do are two totally different things. Verizon's CapEx is $10 billion for C-band, and then it's $18 billion on the rest of the network. T-Mobile does like $12-13 billion in their peak year, which was this year. And last year, they were like $12 billion, right? This is their peak. AT&T spends double, right? Verizon spends basically double with the C-band build considered. That's what it boils down to. It's the spending. It goes on to talk about voice over NR. I'm just hoping that T-Mobile's voice over NR is better than their voice over LTE. I've never really liked their call quality, so hopefully it's better this generation. Coverage complaints. Okay, so this is interesting. T-Mobile is known for having some coverage gaps in rural America and extended places. All right, so outside of cities, you're more likely to struggle on T-Mobile compared to the other two. Typically, AT&T and Verizon are known to have bigger networks than T-Mobile. They've been working to fix that as part of the rural strategy it outlined last year. The rural strategy involves two pieces. One is building new sites, places where they don't have native coverage, and they rely on roaming agreements. The other piece is where they convert Sprint Keep sites, what they call Sprint Keeps. And those are essentially old Sprint sites that have yet to be decommissioned, which are going to be upgraded with all the new T-Mobile modern radio gear, antennas and radios. All right, so that's going to continue. In regards to SpaceX and Starlink, in places where there is no terrestrial coverage, they've got this thing going on with Elon and such. We'll see how that goes. I mean, what are they going to dedicate 5 megahertz of band to? For that, that doesn't really, it's whatever. It's a cool feature, like to have that in your back pocket, but I don't know. According to executives, feels like it's a plan that we can execute on together. We hope that in the 2024 timeline, we could basically have national coverage. And speaking about Starlink, I don't know, guys. I feel more confident that T-Mobile is going to be doing millimeter wave on a much grander scale than we initially thought. But I'm not saying that T-Mobile is going to do any millimeter wave on a grand scale. They're just going to do it more than they let on previously. Look, if T-Mobile believed in their home internet product, which I think they do, you can't argue the numbers. They added over 2 million subscribers in 1 year. You can't have that kind of growth and not be looking at millimeter wave to alleviate that traffic. Millimeter wave is a must-do, not a nice-to-do. Previously, T-Mobile was like, we're not really into that. But now they're going to force the issue, and they have to build a layer cake. They'll have to. As of right now, the only carrier that's really doing a layer cake is really Verizon. They've finished their low band long ago. They're building out their mid band, and they're also building out millimeter wave. They're doing it across several blocks, across several cities, in several states. No other carrier has done that. AT&T they've been more selective. They put the C-RAN and the millimeter wave where it's like, it makes sense. T-Mobile does it out of necessity, where they have no other options. The story on millimeter wave is changing, folks. It's becoming a nice to do. Well, it's gone from a nice to do to a must do. Verizon looking like a damn telecom prophet right now. Verizon has been saying millimeter wave is a must. We believe in it so much that we're just going to start building it now. They didn't want to sit around and wait for C-band, right? They couldn't build out C-band without being close to a launch, right? The auction didn't happen until like a year and a half ago. So what did they do for like 2-3 years? They built out millimeter wave. And now it's put them in a position where in the places where they have millimeter wave, their network is protected. Their network doesn't get congested. They've loaded up all the stadiums and arenas with millimeter wave. They loaded many different city blocks with it to help alleviate congestion, concert venues, and all these different events. And they're wherever they put a lot of home internet customers, they should get millimeter wave there, and T-Mobile should do the same. The only carrier who really should remain selective about millimeter wave is probably AT&T, because AT&T is not doing fixed wireless access over its mobile network. They only need the millimeter wave in those high leverage situations, the stadiums, the extreme multi-dwelling units, right? They're the ones who could probably pick their spots the most. T-Mobile and Verizon really can't pick their spots. They have to like address some serious usage because their users are home internet users and mobile users. So, hey, look, don't believe what carriers say. Watch what they do. I said before, I didn't believe that T-Mobile really meant it when they said we don't need millimeter wave. They absolutely do. They need it now more than ever. The more internet users they have, the more they need millimeter wave. You gotta free up those mid-band channels. You can't have all this usage on your mid-band channels. Yeah, in rural America, it's probably not a big deal, where you don't have that many users on a sector. But once you get into these suburban settings, and you start to take market share in mobile and you're growing, and the user starts using more data, and then you start adding fixed wireless subscribers, and they start using more data, millimeter wave is going to be a must. Millimeter wave is not a nice to do. It is a must do. And of course, T-Mobile wants to kind of crawl back into this. They don't want to admit they were wrong, but they were. Now, maybe they were just lying, right? Maybe they knew they were going to need millimeter wave, but they didn't want to let it on because they didn't want to seem like they weren't spending enough. But that's probably what it boils down to. They weren't ready to make that spending. They weren't ready to start dumping all the dough into millimeter wave just yet. They wanted to worry about just building out mid-band and getting all the pops and doing all the marketing and all of that. Like, hey, we got the most 5G, we got the best 5G, we got the fastest 5G, we got the 5G, we got the 5G. You know, they want to do all that stuff. But then welcome back to reality where your network is paying the cost because your 5G has a lot of traffic on it. And you're going to have to millimeter wave. All right, so theme of tonight, hashtag millimeter wave. T-Mobile forced to do the layer cake, if you know what I mean. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Let's go ahead and close out this this poll. Can I do that? Can I close out the poll? All right, I think we got the poll there. What do you guys think those numbers? Close out this poll. I want to see what the numbers show us. What did we learn? Okay, so according to you all, how will Verizon Q4 2022 go? Flat, bad, or really bad? You guys put it in that order. Flat, 45%. Bad, 27%. Really bad, 26%. We got 94 votes. Thank you guys for voting tonight. And poll is rather optimistic. You know what, Josh? I would say that bad should be the 45%. Flat should be like the 26%. Thanks for the super chat, MS. Appreciate it very much. Poll is rather optimistic indeed. I mean, they were telling us it was going to be bad. You know what I mean? Big shout out to Blind G Tech. Big shout out to Franco. Thank you guys for your super chats. Blind G Tech actually had 2 of them. Big John, thank you for your super chat. Big shout out to RFK Tech, who's about to do his live stream, so you guys can check it out. I'll try to make an appearance. I'll try to be there. That's it for the show, really. There's nothing really much else to discuss here. Stay tuned for more content and such. Go ahead, if it's your first time here, subscribe for more. And you can also become like a supporter of the channel through memberships. The channel memberships are live next to the subscribe button, or you can use the link in the description. Become a member. Also, we have a Patreon page if you guys want to support us there. Get early access to content. We do exclusive live streams and podcasts there as well. That's it, folks. You guys are the best. I hope you have a great turkey. I hope you have lots of taters. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your families. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy football. All the things that you are thankful for. Take up an opportunity to reflect on those things. And I'll leave you guys with that. And of course, you guys are the best part of the SMT Nation, the nation itself. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see you guys soon on the next one. Peace.